Well, I've been promising to tell my Venezuela kidnapping story for
Oh, that's
such a
right.
long time. So maybe I should tell that today.
Why not? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Some Partners in Grind. And
Hello.
in the last episode, I was talking about ice tunnels.
You were.
Yes. And yeah, this totally reminds me of I think I was 16 at the time, so I was a young buck. And there's a place in on the Rocky Mountains here in Canada that there's ice caves all over the place.
Cool.
And I got taken on a hike into an ice cave, and it was the cool. This totally reminds me of it with because you walked into we hiked all the way up the side of the mountain. It was quite a long hike up, and then we got to the entrance, and it was literally like ice, like all around the entrance, and you had to walk in very carefully, and it was all on the ground. And it was this perfect. It was just like this. It was perfectly round. Well, I guess this is really jagged because of the way that it gets drilled, but it was actually smooth and oval in nature. And you walked in, and the light shined in behind you, from behind, and it would light up all of the ice through, and it's just glittering off like this. It was so cool, and it was one of those ones too where it went quite a bit of ways in, but eventually it dead ended. But when it dead ended at this kind of like really large ovally room, almost like a cavern, and right in the center of it was a giant pillar of ice that was going from the top to the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, and like skinny in the middle, but then wide on the top and the bottom, right? And just yeah. And as you got in, actually you got about 3/4 of the way in, and it was pitch black. But then when you walked around the corner, the cavern, like the actual end cavern, was completely lit up because the way that the light reflected around the corner, it lit up the cavern, but there was this one little section of darkness, right? So it was kind of eerie, but at the same time, so cool. When you walked around that corner, it was just like, whoa! It's just like so cool. Yeah, but that was one of those experiences where, if I went back and did it again, it would be cool, but it would not be that, just
Yeah.
odd.
Breathtaking.
Yeah,
First time.
breathtaking. Yeah. So cool. I love experiences like that.
Yeah. It reminds me, I was trying to describe to Mia Boris's reaction when he saw your head in space. Because Mia, was very, very nervous about how Boris was going to react. I mean, I was as well. Boris was kind of, it was like he'd seen a natural wonder. Oh, there's silicon. Oh, we'll have some silicon. Must be outside.
Oh, there's silicon here?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was that sort of reaction that he had. I was so glad that I was recording and that I'd taken him to see the head and we caught his reaction.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Because that wasn't the plan. The plan was to let him see it on video and just see how he reacted when, how did he choose to tell us off after finding it was more the plan.
Yeah.
So is this silicon?
There we go. I finally fixed all my lights. I had a bunch of them that were hidden in the GUI.
Right.
Whoop. Lights everywhere. So where's this silicon? Where are you?
It says silicon 13 meters, but this looks like stone.
Yeah, I'm coming over to you. Ice, uranium.
Let's check. Oh no, it is silicon.
Oh yeah, I see some over
stone
here.
and silicon.
50 from here. Oh, it looks like there's a bit of a color change actually right here. I wonder if this is all just exposed silicon right here.
Yeah, because it does look quite like stone, doesn't it? It just has a slightly different texture. Looks sort of powdery almost.
Yeah, I think this must be silicon. If I look at my inventory, where is this coming in? Silicon. Yep, it is. Cool. All right. So, do you have a story for the crowd?
Well, how long have we got? Are we at the start, the middle,
Yeah.
or the end of the episode?
We're about 5 minutes in, so we're about a quarter of the way through.
Well, I've been promising to tell my Venezuela kidnapping story
Oh,
for
that's
such
right.
a long time. So maybe I should tell that today.
Why not?
Indeed. So I'd been sent out with a friend who was let me turn my HUD off first. Right, a guy who I worked with, he was a sales manager and I was a technical manager, and we kind of teamed up and we'd worked around the world, because our job involved going around the world and talking to foreign governments about things related to telecoms. And I would team up with different sales managers, because there was less technical managers than there were sales managers to go through all this stuff. And he was offered the opportunity to go and set up a joint venture in Venezuela, and he asked me if I would like to join him out there and go be his gerente técnico, I think was the job title, which means something like chief engineer.
Ah, okay.
But we also had a change of management at the time. So the new MD said to me, he knew I'd been offered this position just before he joined, and he said to me, well, you can stay in the UK if you wish, you can go to Venezuela if you wish, or you can go to Shanghai, because the Shanghai office have expressed an interest in you as well, because I used to work in China for a while. And of all of the places, I'd never been to Venezuela. The fact that it had a V and a Z and a U in its name, it just meant like it was so exotic sounding. And if I went to Venezuela, I would be based in Venezuela, but I'd be working the export market. So I'd be traveling all over South America. And it just sounded so exciting. I said that to me sounded like what I would probably want to do, but as is customary, if you're going to be relocated to a foreign country, usually they'll send you on an all expenses paid holiday there first, just to see if you're going to get on with the country.
Right.
So I agreed to go out on a fortnight's holiday. So I got 2 weeks, all expenses holiday to Venezuela with my colleague. We went out there, we liked it, we took the job, we started setting up the joint venture out there, and we were on a 2-year contract, 2 years initial contract. And then something strange happened. It was just as things were really moving, we were buying land and stuff like that. It was we were becoming very established in the local Venezuelan sort of scene there. Now, the guy I was out with was a gay guy, and that at the time, I can't remember whether it was actually illegal to be gay in Venezuela, or it was certainly very inadvisable to be openly gay anyway. There was a lot of trouble with sort of police attacks on gay people and stuff. But we were a bit young and foolish, and I'd always liked hanging around the gay clubs, because it was always tricky being sort of a single woman going out clubbing, especially in somewhere like South America. You're going to get hit on so much that actually it's just really nice going out to a gay club.
Yeah.
Because you can
don't have to worry about it, right? It's just...
Yeah. It's so much more free. And so he'd taken me out. His name was Alfonso. So Alfonso, he took me out on the gay scene in Venezuela, and we were actually in a club called Sodoma, which was, as he said, delightfully appointed. It was such a beautiful, beautiful, stylish club with chrome and lights, and it wasn't like some seedy backstreet place. And we've met up with some people who he knew there and things like that. Well, while we were in this club, something a bit odd happened when a guy started hitting on me. I thought which was a bit odd. And I was getting bad vibes about it, and so I decided to sort of separate myself. Yeah. And then I saw the same guy hitting on Alfonso. I thought you just knew something was wrong. Anyway, when we left the club, the guy was outside. He pulled a gun on us. Told us to get into a taxi, which we did. It was a backstreet cab. It was an unofficial backstreet cab. Somebody who just hires out their car and driver, unofficial taxi for hire. And now I couldn't understand a word of what was being said, because my Spanish was limited to being able to say what plane number I was supposed to be getting on. Which country I was travelling to. That was about my limit at that point. The word taxi, Mars bar and Coca-Cola gets you an awful long way in foreign countries all around the world. It's like and as long as you carry a business card that says where you're trying to get to. Yeah. So I used to always get clients who I was going out to visit. I would get them to send me a business card in advance, so I could just give the taxi driver the business card, and a taxi driver would find me the right way. So I couldn't understand what was being said, but there was a gun, and I knew it was threatening. I knew it was bad news. We were taken back to our apartment block, which was a bit of a relief. But what was strange, when we got into we had 24-hour concierge on the apartments, and our usual concierge team weren't there. It was a completely different set of people, which was strange. And I was told this guy spoke the tiniest bit of English, and he took us both to my room first, put me in my room, and told me that I would have somebody with a gun outside my door, and I was not to leave my room, and I was not to try and contact anybody, and that my phones were being watched. So I thought, okay, yeah, do as I'm told, best behaviour. Went into my room, and basically what was happening was I was being put under house arrest, which I didn't really know what was going on at the time. And this was on a Friday night. Alfonso was taken away with the armed guard, which scared the living crap out of me, because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know it was kidnapping.
Right.
The thing that was really worrying me was whether this was actually a gay bashing. Whether whether it was somebody hanging out at a gay bar to find, specifically to pick off gay men, to punish them. So I was really, really worried about him. But I thought, but when somebody did turn up outside my door, and I never caught sight of the guy outside my door. I only ever saw that there was somebody there. You could see the shadow of the feet underneath the door. Right. And I was thinking, well, surely why would they put me under armed guard? And at one point I thought, fuck it, I'm going to try and telephone my colleague, because we lived in the same apartment block, but we were 8 floors apart from each other. He had a higher apartment, and so I tried to telephone through to his apartment, and the telephones wouldn't connect unless they went through reception. So anytime I tried to phone internally or externally, it just went straight through to the receptionist, which was strange. There was an awful lot that was just strange about this whole thing.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, you know, things are always breaking down. It was a developing country. It's actually a lot better now, I believe, than it was back then. It was quite a poor country back then. The wealth just left the country in the oil barrels. So the fact that things weren't normal was odd, but not terribly shocking. So I was sort of in a quandary what to do, and then Saturday came, and Alf phoned me on the Saturday to let me know that he was okay, and that I was okay, and that if we wanted to carry on being okay, that we just needed to carry on doing exactly what we were doing. And I don't think I'd slept at this point. I was just so glad to hear from him as well. And I carried on just sitting tight and getting more and more paranoid, more and more worked up about quite what was going on, and friend in danger and all that. You know, and I, as you know, I can react quite strongly to friends in danger. And what had actually happened to Alf while all this was going on was he, on the Friday night, had been told by the guy with the gun who tried to seduce us, had tried to seduce me and then tried to seduce him. It's just I hadn't realised that was what was going on. Before then resorting to kidnapping, was actually trying to collect a ransom from us. And it was to do with the land that we were buying in Venezuela. And it was all to do with business somehow. And I never quite got the full story of exactly what the business, what the transaction was that we were supposed to do. I just know that our Venezuelan counterpart company had done their bit, but the British company that we are half of the joint venture, they owed $2 million. Or was it £2 million? I can't remember. 2 million of something, some currency or other, a lot of money. And they were proposing to Alfonso that if the British company refused to pay their end of the deal, and apparently the threats had been made, the threats had been ignored, and this was a last resort situation where they'd taken us. It's just that the company hadn't informed us that we were in any danger. And so what they were saying was that we could stay hostage, or and if the company continued to refuse, we would be killed, or we could courier drugs back to the UK. It was cocaine. We could courier cocaine to, and I can't even remember now whether it was the UK or Amsterdam, because we always flew through Amsterdam. And we could be what they call narcomulas, drugs donkeys.
Yeah.
And that every time we did a trip, I think we needed to do 5 trips each to pay the debt, but we would also be paid a substantial amount of money as personal expenses in addition to paying off the debt. And Alf had managed to convince this guy that, never mind the debt, never mind anything else, that was a lot of money that we were up for receiving, and that he was, Alfonso was a sales guy. He was very, very convincing, and he, as far as he saw it, his life was in danger, my life was in danger, and he was busy talking his way out of it. And the best way he could see was to convince this guy to trust him. And so he convinced the guy that actually he was more than happy to be a drugs mule if they were going to pay him that much, and that it was all about the money for him. And yeah, sure. 5 trips would mean that he wouldn't have to work for a year. He could live off the proceeds of those trips and be quite rich, and he was up for it. Anyway, it was one of those, you can put the gun away. The gun is totally not necessary. If you'd just asked me, I'd be up for it. And he managed to convince the guy. But so they, his hostage taker, they ran out of cigarettes, and again another strange thing happened where the guy decided to take them both for a walk, and they went out to a local sort of cigarette seller, can't remember, newsagents or store or something, and this is in the middle of the night. And as they're walking down the road, a young kid about the age of 14 was walking up towards the guy with the gun, and Alf said he obviously knew him. Said he very, very obviously knew this guy. They both sort of acknowledged each other, and then this young kid just pretty much leapt out straight in front of the next car and was killed.
Oh, jeez.
Said it was a very obvious and blatant suicide. Said it wasn't, there was nothing accidental about it.
Oh my goodness.
And Alf had absolutely no idea what or why or how that was related or anything, but his kidnapper just laughed.
Oh my god.
And then they decided to get out of the site because they decided they didn't want to be hanging around when the police came.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was quite, there was some quite dark moments. By the time Sunday came, something else a bit odd happened. Alf and I, because we used to get phone calls from the office. The office was the others. Our apartment building was on a crossroads, and diagonally opposite the crossroads was our office building. So we would get phone calls from people in the office every so now and then. And we had a little code to dial each other, which was 2 rings and off, and then 2 rings and off, and then dial back again. And then that way we'd know it was each other, and we know that we were just phoning to find out whether we were going out to eat or we were up for a laugh or something. And it was just about making sure, avoiding the bosses and being able to have some private space and that sort of thing.
Right.
On the Sunday night,